And I came up with the concept of Try Life On, and here it is. We were all given a set of rules in grade school. 20 to 30 years of formal school education told us what we're supposed to be, what we're supposed to act like, what success looks like. I disagree. When we were in grade school, we were very, very creative. We were eating glue. We were throwing paint at the walls. We were outside playing kickball at recess. We were mobile. It was fun. And then we start getting into the middle tiers of junior high school, into high school, and it starts to shift into this compliance thing where Johnny, sit forward, take this permission slip home to your mother. You got to get an A or you are not considered someone who's successful. And then the real dramatic thing happens when we get to high school and college. Now, I love formal education. I think it's necessary. My father is a 33-year retired educator, and my mama is a 25-year guidance counselor. Formal education is a part of my family. What I don't like about formal education is the notion that we're always supposed to compete with each other because it totally shifts the dynamic of what our lives are supposed to be like. Remember, when we were in high school, who's going to be in the AP classes? Who's going to be the MVP? Who's going to be the valedictorian? Who's going to be the MVP of the football team? Who's going to be the prom king, the prom queen? We were always competing. It translated into college, and unfortunately, from my perspective, it translates into the work world. Who's going to be the executive VP? Who's going to be the partner? And for many people, they just start competing against the peer next to you, but you never even wanted that in the first place. That's not your version of success. We can change the rules. And I did, and I show people how to do it. The challenge is we want to do it. We have a thought to do it, but we don't have a framework to do it. So I came up with a framework. And here's the framework. Adults have forgotten how to dream. I talk about it all the time. So what we have to do is what I do is I get myself and my coaching students to draft their perfect day. Now, that comes in many forms. Some people do vision boards, some people journal it, some people talk about it. But in the Try Life On process, I get people to write it down in vivid detail, to attach emotion to it. And if you go to trylifeon.com, newsletter 19, I even put my own perfect day out there. The reason why you want to draft your perfect day is because that's your way, that's your conscious way of telling your subconscious what you want out of life. And you can start moving towards that consciously and subconsciously on a day-to-day basis. But you have got to attach an enormous amount of emotion to that goal. And when you attach an enormous amount of emotion to that, you start unwinding all that status quo language that we learned in grade school and high school as far as what's supposed to be your version of success. My version of success was being a police officer. My version of success was traveling around the world, building meaningful relationships with amazing people. My version of success was finding my partners for Quattro Capital so we could do something phenomenal, which is help other people achieve their goals relative to financial freedom. My version of success now is impacting people like you guys. I don't need to do this from a financial perspective. I want to do it because I didn't have anybody when I went on my own journey. You write down your perfect day in dramatic detail. And I've learned over time, you can take that perfect day and break it down into 5 buckets, 5 freedom buckets: time freedom, financial freedom, geographic freedom. By the way, geographic freedom is not traveling around the world. Geographic freedom is all about mobility. We were mobile as kids. We were running in the woods. We were hopping fences. We were riding bikes around the neighborhood. As adults, we literally sit in a cube on a computer all day and we think we're living. Sorry, we're not. That's not what was intended. Time freedom, financial freedom, geographic freedom, freedom to execute your purpose. My purpose was being a police officer. My other 3 purposes are being in love, being loved by a community, which means I've done good things for people. Think being a police officer. I still have business owners that call me. And my 3rd purpose is constant learning. Why does he travel so much? Because I'm always in a state of learning when I'm in a culture that I know nothing about. It's not that I want to see the whole world. It's that I want to stay in a state of constant learning. Why did you start so many businesses? To learn something new. You break down your goals into those buckets: time freedom, financial freedom, geographic freedom, freedom to execute your purpose, freedom to build meaningful relationships, because we need people. If you are sitting your butt at the office from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day, how are you and you want to do real estate, how do you have time to interact with someone like Maurice, who's been part of $200 million of real estate in the last 3 years? 10 states in the United States, another country. When are you going to have time? If you're just at the office and you're just going to the networking events, then your mindset, skill set, and soul set is limited to the information that's within those four walls. You got to build relationships. But all those goals that you build, they have blockers. Every goal has a blocker. If you want to be geographically mobile the way that I do, but you get 900 pieces of mail at your house because you had all these businesses, how could I go spend time in Turkey or Greece if my business mail is at the house? Couldn't. So the solution to that blocker was to virtualize my mail. I haven't received mail at my home or anywhere in 5 years. It all comes online. Every goal has blockers, and the point of trying life on in coaching is to co-create actions that get rid of the blockers, actions or relationships that get rid of those blockers. If you get rid of the blockers, conceivably you reach the goal. If you reach the goal, then conceivably you've created the framework by which you can have your perfect day. You cannot have your perfect day every day. This is real life. Things happen, but you can have the framework for it, and I'll prove it. Over the last 2 weeks, I was in the Mideast. I spent a lot of time in Lebanon with people I care about deeply, deeply, deeply. I literally commute from Lebanon at this point back to the US because I have a 10-year-old who's in Washington, D.C. I have a framework by which I can be in that country, pop over to Cyprus to do my real estate business, and then get on a 1:45 a.m. flight out of Jordan on a Monday, land at 6 a.m. in Washington Dulles Airport, roll to my house, and be ready to take my son Noah to school at 7 a.m. I do it all the time. I have made my extraordinary ordinary, and people who know me always say, "Where are you today?" Because they know that part of my life involves a significant amount of mobility and business concerns and being with people that I love and experiencing life and planet as intended.